Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan podcast by the You Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Amir Khan, Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
Hello and welcome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we agreed you were going to start doing the intros now. We totally forgot about that, Sujoy.
Did we? I mean, yeah, whatever. Behlo aur bhaiyo.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you I would do like Amin Sayani in this episode because it does feel like that, you know. Los Angeles se Alisa पूछती है.
Oh God.
Sorry.
This is good. I do feel we are being like a bit sunrise radio with this episode, you know, like, but are like Desi people just love calling into stuff. Like I was like scanning like these you know, on Sky, like the digital box that we have in the UK, you have these Asian channels at the end of it, and you have all of these channels, like it's just a guy and people call in and they talk for 30 minutes and the presenter is just like chatting with them. It goes nowhere, they have no point, and it's all of these uncle aunties, and there's like a lot of these channels going on. So I don't know, I think we all just like to hear our voice. So not that
maybe we should launch our podcast on the Skybox. You know? People would call us from Lucknow.
Yeah. So this is the level of interaction we can do. This is the Khandaan mailbag episode. We've been like collecting emails and Curious Cat and Facebook messages and all that together to kind of, you know, talk with our listeners in a way. So this is what we're going to be doing. Oh, I actually wanted to like, I think you're going to appreciate this, Amrita. I was asked to be on the Riz Test podcast yesterday. And I think
which one is that?
You know the actor Riz Ahmed from Star Wars. Yeah, so it's named after him, and I don't know if he has involvement in it or not, in what way, shape, or form. But it's about Muslim representation in cinema, and they basically called me in yesterday to talk about Muslim representation in Hindi cinema or Bollywood, and then also about how kind of there's a rise in, you know, intolerance, that kind of thing. And I think it just made me think after recording it, like all of us have been recently invited to other people's podcasts, right? And while I was talking, I was like thinking, man, I could never get away with the shit that I'm saying on this podcast with Sujoy and Amrita, because they would just call me on my bullshit. I could just like, I was like, where is Amrita to stop me with like a snarky jibe, because these guys are just letting me talk like I'm some sort of expert and it's gonna bite me in the ass. Like, I was so scared.
Khair manao, we don't listen to that podcast.
Yeah. I was like, I need...
What's funny is that you're telling me this story and I was just about to start by saying things like, I love that Asim started this episode by telling our listeners that Desis love to call in and talk pointlessly about nothing. And that's the level of interaction that we have in our episode.
See, that's why I need you. Otherwise, I would be like on Hyde Park corner just bullshitting for like hours on end like a madman, you know? I need boundaries. I need somebody to call my bullshit. Okay. Yeah, so let's get going with this one at least. I think we tried to split it up as much as we could and we edited out some of the emails to just kind of get to the point. Otherwise, if we just read emails, I think it's going to be boring for people. So we had a few email questions that we kind of got some topics out of, some questions we can discuss, and then we have some rapid fire things that we had through social media and Curious Cat. So yeah, Amrita, maybe you can get started.
Yeah, so the first email is from Alia from Miami, and she says some really lovely things about the podcast, and she thanked us for putting in the timeline, which is something that other people have mentioned as well, that they like the timestamps. And you're welcome. So her question is, so the three Khans have been iconic in their own ways. What is the one thing that each of them are or were excellent at that you can't quite see anyone from the current generation being as successful with? And then she puts on her own opinions where she says that she doesn't think Shah Rukh's general charisma can be matched by anyone in the current generation, which I agree. Like, he does have that it factor which just jumps out of the screen, and I don't think anyone else has had it since him. And she says that for Salman, he was able to balance being naughty and nice really well, and she's really thinking about David Dhawan movies. And for Aamir, this is my favorite part of this letter, because she says, and I quote, "For Aamir, honestly, I'm with Asim here. Not as big of an Aamir fan."
Amrita, should I send you a screenshot of my note here that I took in that sentence? It's written, "Prepare for Amrita's attack."
This is my favorite line of any email that has ever been sent to us. Alia didn't even leave Asim with a fig leaf to cover his Aamir
like with all your snarking, with like a episode joke you make about his pants, about his height, she agrees with me, who proclaims to be the biggest Aamir fan on this podcast.
Clearly, Alia is paying attention to the subtext, and she can actions speak louder than words. So, yes, good on you, Alia. You can tell when Asim is just putting shit on. Yeah, I think Salman has a level of herogiri, for lack of a better word, that I don't think anybody in the current generation can really match. And I think Aamir has a sense of scripting and a sense of what will connect with the audience, more often than not. He really has a really good idea of what the Indian audience will connect to on an emotional level. And I don't think, I think probably Ayushmann comes the closest, but Ayushmann does this thing where he's making the same movie over and over and over again, whereas Aamir's movies are not the same. They're very different movies, but he's able to calibrate not just his performance, but also the movies themselves to fit very specific things, whether it's Rang De Basanti or Dil Chahta Hai or Three Idiots or, or Dangal.
Yeah.
All these movies, they speak to very different genres and to different emotions. And, they're like masala movies for this generation. And I don't see anyone else doing it.
I think what Aamir also does is that he's almost one step ahead of the audience, and he gives you something that we didn't know we wanted, and it is so in line with what we wanted, what we felt, and he's done that consistently. Even a movie like Rangila or Dil Chahta Hai, we didn't even know we needed this and wanted this, but he gave it to us and we just lapped it up like nobody else. And I don't think any of the other Khans has has really done that. I feel Salman kind of got lucky with Wanted and Dabangg, that this era of mass action started with him, and I think Shah Rukh got swept away in this romantic lead NRI kind of thing, the Raj era, which I don't think you necessarily intellectually thought of. He was just working with the people he liked, where I feel Amir, he thought of this kind of project would work, and he seems to be more cerebral about this, and it just seems to match the sensibility of where we are as a society more. And he seems to be one step ahead. That's how I feel it. What about you, Sujoy? Sorry, I was cutting you off. You were going to say something.
No, like, to answer this question, I think on a more basic level of what these heroes achieved on screen, like, obviously we know they're off-screen personas are so larger than life, and they are the epitome of the superstar, that I don't think any of this generation's actors would be able to achieve that. There are several reasons, social media and the whole accessibility and stuff. But on screen, the basic thing that sort of characterizes their presence is Salman can do that buffoonery comedy act really well, which neither Amir or even Shah Rukh can. And I enjoy watching him do that in like Hum Aapke Hai Kaun or Chal Mere Bhai Dulhan Hum Le Jayenge, And he gets away with that. I think it comes naturally to him, and I like that, and I don't see that in any of the new generation of actors. Like Varun tries to do that, but again, that's just sort of idealizing an already present image of Salman Khan or Govinda. And with Amir, I see again the evoking emotion bit, and he is the best on-screen crier to me. He can make me cry by just watching him cry, from Raja Hindustani or Rang De Basanti or Tare Zameen Par. He can cry his eyes off. And off-screen, obviously, he goes to cinemas and cries with a towel, but that's another thing. With Shah Rukh, as you said, like, he did get swept away with his romantic image, but the Shah Rukh that grew out of, doing roles like Bazigar and Anjam and Dar, and we eventually get to see that sort of grayish image in Fan. That's what draws me. And I don't think, like, other than actors like Nawazuddin or maybe some bit of Varun in Badlapur. Again, we are talking about Varun here, but I don't see any of the new generation trying to do interesting negative roles in that way. Or I don't know, maybe Vicky Kaushal in that Raman Raghav 2.0 but yeah, I don't see that sort of confidence of playing an out and out negative character either, and Shah Rukh excels in it.
Yeah. I think also with the Khans, they broke grounds and they broke molds, more than anything, and I don't see with any of the new generation. Like, and they also opened up new markets. Shah Rukh opened up the NRI market. He opened up this idea of stars being brands that nobody else had done before to that level. And then Amir opened up China. And I think with Salman, he's a really 4-quadrant appeal, mass hysteria kind of actor there is,
Yeah, he became the bhai of the nation.
Yeah, and he has such a connect, like Dil Ka Rishta, with so many people, like he's such a good star on TV. And every Khan has tried TV. But look at the format of Big Boss. Wo hai kya? What is that show, right? Das Ka Dam, what is that show? But Salman just he is very close. He has those very close relationships, and maybe it is coming from that large family he's part of, that he can almost make, India, Pakistan his family, they sees his family, that nobody in Amir and Shah Rukh can do. They I feel Shah Rukh definitely lacks that skill. He can make you fall in love with him, right? He can be your son, but I don't think he can be your bhai to that way, like cinematically at least. And I think somebody was tweeting, the I don't know who it was, but it was can you see the chemistry between Aishwarya Rai and Shah Rukh Khan? And I was like, Shah Rukh has chemistry with everybody. It doesn't mean, it's not Aishwarya or whatever. Anybody. He has chemistry with the tree, like I always say, na? And like that is a skill that I don't see any other new actor having. Like who can romance somebody like Shah Rukh Khan, and people have tried, like Hrithik has tried, like the people that came after him, Shahid, has tried. They've all tried to emulate some facets of the Khans, and they've not been able to be that successful. I also think cinema has moved on. It's become a completely different era, and I think that this kind of leads us to Alyssa's email, Sujoy. If you want to kind of maybe go into that,
Sure.
I think this is a kind of a good segue for that.
Yeah. So Alisa from Los Angeles writes, do you think the coronavirus crisis is accelerating a trend that's been going on for several years, which is the diminution of movie stars? I see people speculating who will be the next generation of Khan level stars, but I think that we will never see that level of stardom again because tech and social media makes it impossible for stars to maintain the mystique and larger than life status necessary to achieve superstardom. Do we really need to see Katrina complaining that she doesn't remember to wash dishes and such? How will this all influence filmmaking in the future? And, because Bollywood uses a film language predicated on having superstars.
Yeah. I think that's what I was kind of saying, that I think cinema has moved on, and I think that's just the global thing that's happening, right? And I spoke about this at length on the Wrist Test podcast, actually, that, we all kind of grew up with Bollywood still being, a family kind of thing, like a family viewing. Amitabh ki picture aayegi, we're all going to go watch it. And it used to have it has something for the ma and for the bap and the sister, and everything was in one movie contained, as long as dad had the finger on the fast forward remote, so he could just fast forward through the bits that weren't appropriate for the family that he felt, right? But that has changed, and I think the Khans were kind of that bridge to that change, but I think even in the change, they even have trouble finding themselves. And, it is about approachability, because, Kartik Aaryan is now a YouTube star, and, everybody's on TikTok, so how do I do really feel that the Khans are too big to be on TikTok? I don't want to see Shah Rukh on TikTok. I don't know about you guys. Like, do you want to see Shah Rukh on TikTok?
No.
Yeah.
But also the way the three Khans have handled the crisis right now, and their public presence in times like these, it tells you a lot about how the current generation is handling this, by being super accessible and bringing people into their bedrooms and talking, whereas Salman is somewhere in a farmhouse feeding his horses. Shah Rukh is running his charity with red chilies, and Amir is nowhere to be found, probably because he does not want to be in the public eye.
Yeah, that horse video was funny though. Salman. You know what that made me think of? Like that scene in Dabangg 3 where he puts Sonakshi in the bathwater and then he drinks the bathwater. I don't know, it's such a Salman move, to have a horse eat hay from his head. I thought that was kind of hilarious. But the other thing is also I also wonder if we are also kind of getting older too, right? And with that, are we also getting cynical? Because
I don't think it's age related. I think it's just how we are as people right now. I think everyone right now the world is a more cynical place right now, and I think that has to do with the amount of information that we have about everything. It's very difficult to stand somebody in the age of social media, because everyone's getting cancelled for something or the other. You can sit at home quietly and not do anything and then get cancelled even for that.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for people to attain the godlike status that, say, the Khans have, or Mr. Bachchan or, like Dilip Kumar or people like that. Like, people would go and, like, would you really go stand outside Ranveer Singh's house for his birthday? I don't think so.
He'll come to your house for your birthday.
Yeah, exactly. Ranveer Singh will come to your house and celebrate his birthday. Like, that's the difference, Like, and for those of you who are listening to this podcast and like, well, that's kind of mean. I want you to know that he actually did that, like, not celebrate his birthday, but he actually went to, like, random fans' homes in the UK the last time he was there.
Yeah.
But that's also the difference in the fandoms. Like, the fandoms for people, for the younger generation today, I think they expect that and they want that level of engagement from their stars. But the thing with being like a bona fide star is that you don't give the people what they want, you give the people what they need. Like, people want everything. Like, if you ask a Shah Rukh fan, like, would you like Shah Rukh to come to your house? They'll be like, yeah, I want Shah Rukh to come to my house. But do they really want Shah Rukh to come to their house? No, they want, like, Raj to come to their house or Rahul to come to their house. So the level of access that he grants is probably, like, more it's better that he doesn't come to your house. You know what I mean?
That's like how I say I'd rather not interview Salman Khan. Like, I'd rather not. Like, like, I've interviewed Shah Rukh, I've interviewed Amir, and it's gone with moderate success. But Salman, I feel I should not interview him. It's not going to go well for me. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, next question.
That's the one from Irfan from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
He loves us. He loves me most of all. I'm gonna edit these emails as I wish. Like, I have control now. I am the captain now.
I'm the one with the mic.
So Irfan from Chicago said, I think you should discuss the following topics. One is about Khan gossip over the years. Irfan, this is the whole podcast. We just do talk about Khan gossip the whole thing. Another, like, nothing is based on fact here. Another one would be talking about actors, actresses that you would like to see work together in the future. Like Salman and Vidya, Shah Rukh and Jacqueline. Irfan, really? Lastly, I thought talking about the Khans and who they worked with the best, like Salman and Sanjay, or Amir and Ajay, or Shah Rukh and Jackie. I love this question. I think for me, I mean, the way I took the question is with actresses, but then also with certain filmmakers that I would really like to see. And I think just looking at the list that Irfan said, the first idea that popped in my head is how much I miss multi-hero projects. Like, we used to have so many of them back in the day. Like, even like a movie like Parampara, which, it's not like a grand movie, it's not great, it didn't work out or whatever, but just because there's so many actors in there, Vinod Khanna and Raveena Tandon and Saif Ali Khan, it just adds a bit more, and you want to kind of revisit it, even though it's not going to be great. But and like, there's also certain actors that play well with others, right? Like Akshay, he's a really good co-star. Ajay Devgan is a really good co-star. And from the Khan, Salman is a really good co-star. Like, he'll just like, and it reminds me of Diwangi, where he's so excited to be there, right? Like, I just thought, right? That's so endearing. So I miss Salman with Karisma Kapoor, with Lolo. I think it's like the biryani is ready at this time. I think it should happen. Like, Lolo is back. I think they have such good chemistry and it's not toxic in any way. And I think age-wise, I think Salman more than anybody needs to, work with actresses that are closer to his age and like reinvent himself a little bit. So I think him with Charisma would be really, really cool. And him working with Sanjay Leela Bhansali, that would be really, really cool. With Amir, I had Juhi. I would love them to work together again. And I would like Amir to work like more on massy kind of movies again, like Gajni or Bazi. That I would like to see. And for Shah Rukh Khan, I would love to see him with the new actors. Like, I would love to see him with Ayushmann. I would love to see him with Ranveer, or, even with Vicky Kaushal. And I think he's the only one that can, like, pass that torch to the next level. And I think he could work that way, like he did with Der Zindagi with Alia. And across the board, I would like to see more Rani Mukherjee with all of these three actors, because she's like, just thinking about it, she worked really well with all three of them. But yeah, so those were my thoughts. I don't know, Amrita, did you have any thoughts on this question?
I'd really want to see Shah Rukh with both Vidya and Tabu.
Tabu has
Although, like, when you were talking about Shah Rukh working with younger actors, that's true. Like, he would be great. Like, he would fit in, like, of the three Khans, I think he would fit in most seamlessly with the kind of, like, sort of indie films that are being done. Because, like, that's why he started, right? Like, he did Maya Mein Saab and all those films to begin with. And I think he'd fit in really well with these movies that are being made today as well. With Amir, who do I want to see? Amir.
Yeah, who do you want to see? Amir, Amrita.
I mean, I barely want to see Amir, so every time his films come out, I watch it despite Amir being in it. So I don't know if I particularly want to see. Actually, I would love to see Amir act with Shah Rukh. Like,
yes, that's so true.
Like, that's the big thing, right? Like, we've never had that. Like, that's the one Yodi that we haven't had. So,
can it work,
I'd love
though?
to see the two
Can
of them.
it work? Like, I cannot even envision those two together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't even know how that would work.
Because do they get along?
Crazy movie, though.
Do they get along or not really?
I think they've learned to get along, and but I think Amir still has a chip on his shoulder about Shah Rukh, because I think with, like, Salman and him, like, he basically was like, okay, they're both, like, star kids, whatever. And then, like, not star kids, but they're, like, industry kids, like, came up through the ranks together. And then Shah Rukh came out of nowhere, like, 5 years after he made his debut and just became, like, the biggest star ever. And I don't think, like, Amir has quite forgiven or forgotten that. And the one thing that I know about Amir is that he keeps his grudges. So here's some gossip for you. Fun. I think that's the gossip that I have for you.
Yeah.
And then with Salman, I would love to see him with Vidya. But, like, I don't even know, like, what kind of movie they'd make together. Like, what film would... But, like, Vidya would make... Like, even, like I was trying to think of Vidya being in, like a very mainstream sort of raunchy kind of film. But I think she'd scare the pants off Salman, honestly speaking. Yeah. Salman likes his women, like, a very particular way, like a very conservative, feminine kind of way. And I think Vidya can be that way, but then she goes, like, very like, Salman likes them glam but also, like, conservative. Like Aishwarya, I think that's why I think Aishwarya is his ideal woman, and I honestly don't think he's ever gotten over Aishwarya, and I don't think he ever will, because she's glam but she's also a behenji at heart, and I think that's basically Salman's ideal woman. And,
but how does one get over Aishwarya, though? Like, seriously, like, like, it's a tough challenge. Like the most beautiful woman in the world, right?
Yeah.
But like, speaking of which, like, I would like to see a spin-off of Adil Hai Mushkil, where, the Aishwarya character, who Sabah, goes back and tries to rekindle her love with Shah Rukh's character in that movie.
Oh, yeah. I would watch that.
I would like to watch that movie. But not to be made by Karan Johar.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be directed by somebody who's not Kejo.
Who would you want it to be directed? Like, why? Like Imtiaz Ali?
No. If Yash Chopra was still alive, I would love to see that movie being made by him.
Oh, yeah. We're going, like, full, like, silsila kind of thing. Like, yeah. Just to get back on your point about Salman, right? I think Salman only works well when he is uncomfortable. If you let him just do what he wants to do, then the movie becomes terrible slowly. So I do think he needs to be... Yeah, I do think he needs to be pushed with actors and with even with filmmakers that he's not comfortable with, because like especially in this era where he's like super rich and quite successful, he needs to start working with people that he's not comfortable with. So yeah. Next one, shall we move on to Neha?
Wait, can I just do like one last thing for Irfan, which is like my favorite story from the sets of Karan Arjun, where Aditya Chopra went to meet Shah Rukh to cast him for DDLJ, and Karan Johar describes that scene of like like they stepped onto the sets of Karan Johar, and the first thing they saw was this. Was it a journalist or a photographer? But he was like running down the driveway trying to get away from Salman, because Salman was trying to beat him up for writing something that he didn't like, and Shah Rukh is running after Salman trying to stop him from like killing this person. and then they get their meeting with Shah Rukh, and then all of a sudden Shah Rukh takes off running to beat up a journalist who had written something that he didn't like. So it was just, I just have this idea of what it must have been like to be on the set with Shah Rukh and Salman back in the 90s when they were both like, like Sakht Londa types. And I understand why Aamir wasn't too keen on acting with Salman again and like never acted with Shah Rukh, because it must have been a lot. But still one of the funniest stories.
I also just remembered one more thing that Shah Rukh does that this generation of actors will never be able to achieve, and that is run in slow motion.
Yeah.
Like heavy coat flying in the air. Nobody else does it better than Shah Rukh.
Yeah. I think it sounds like a Tom and Jerry set. And I also wanted to say, like, Shah Rukh, I think we forget how legendary his anger was back in the day too, right? Like, I think we've kind of forgotten, but he probably still is a very, very angry man. Like, so not to like kind of forget that. Okay, shall we move on?
So the next one is from Neha from San Francisco. Hi, Neha. And again, she says very nice things, and she says that we're good for ignoring children, which is true. Asim is ignoring his child right now to talk to us, so it is good for ignoring children. She has a few ideas for future podcasts, which we thought were interesting. Like one of them is the Khandaan Awards, which we're not doing right now, but sure, maybe down the road. And then there's like a discussion of Khan eras. So she says, for example, Salman Khan's early 2000s hair plugs era. The films he made at that time, what was going on in his life, what he was struggling with, how he tried to adapt to the times, etc. Every Khan has gone through multiple iterations, which would be cool to break down and discuss. That is true, and I think we are going to do that as well at some point. And then she also was wondering if we'd like to do any episodes on Khan Productions, which, again, that is something that we've been discussing. I think we're just waiting for... Like, we have so much content to go through, honestly. So we're just waiting for things to sort of wind down a little bit. But yes, we will. These are ideas that we have considered in the past. I think the closest that we have come to like a Khan Awards thing is that I think in the beginning of the year that we did like a 10-year retrospective. So you might want to check that out, where we were looking at various Khan movies and what they've done and how well they've held up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she also has a lovely little shout out to Beth, our top friend Beth. So,
yeah, I was actually thinking we should get Beth back on. I miss talking to Beth, so I think that's a good idea. I did prepare like a little bit how many errors I thought everybody has. I think Amir has 2, Shah Rukh has 3, Salman has 5. So I think one day we can break those down and discuss them all one by one.
Wait, tell us the errors.
Okay, Amir had the pre-Man Mela phase. I think we discussed this in Mela, and the one after. Shah Rukh had the up-and-coming rebel. He had the Raj Rahul, and then he had the global icon. Salman had the debut. Then he had the magical mullet. He had the body era. Then he had the breakup in jail era, and then he had the post-wanted era.
Nice.
The breakup in jail era.
That was a bad era for him, man. That was really tough. Okay.
Okay. We shall. Yeah.
One day.
It is a good idea,
Yeah.
Neha. Like I think we will discuss it at some point.
Safia writes, I don't know where she's writing from, but she writes, thank you, first of all. Thank you for continuing the podcast during the quarantine period. Been listening to the podcast pretty much nonstop. I'm totally okay with you guys continuing with the same format. However, since you are canvassing suggestions for something different to do, each of you can make 5 favorite films of each of the Khans and discuss the choices that each person comes up with. You could nominate a best actor, best film, best song. We have already talked about the Khandaan Awards. We will probably be doing it in a future episode, but again, we did some sort of a Khandaan last decade retrospective, so check out that episode. You could pick a recent non-Khan movie and replace 3 of the characters with the 3 Khans. Thanks again for all your content.
I love that last question. I didn't prepare for it though, but I love that last question.
Me neither. I'll probably think more about it.
Yeah, I want to do this one. I want to do this one from Safia. So I think let's think about this a little bit more, and then we can get to it.
I have. By the way, like Safia also says that she wants my reading recommendations. And I said this in the last podcast as well, but you can head over to Instagram where I have an account called Amrita by the book. That's Amrita _by_the_book. It's a very awkward name, but it's the only thing I could get. If you have suggestions for a better name, then please send it in by all means. I just couldn't think of anything, but I will have like more stuff put up there, and you can go through it. And it's not a lot of there aren't a lot of suggestions there, but the suggestions there right now are really good, and it will increase as time goes by. But yes, I do have a suggestion though for a non-Khan movie. I don't know how 3 of them would be there, but Kapoor and Sons.
Ooh. Who would be who?
That is not something that I am. I think Amir would be the dad.
Right.
Because he's already a cheater in real life. Hi, Irfan. Some more content for you. But Amir would be the dad, and then the 2 brothers would. Oh, I think the easy casting would be Salman would be Sid, and Shah Rukh would be Fawad. But oh my god, can you imagine what that movie would be? Like, it would be a completely different beast, right?
Yeah.
It would almost be closer to Dil Chahta Hai in a way, right? You need to change some relationships there. But I think actually it would be interesting if Salman would play gay, I think that could be like really, really interesting and play with his image in his fandom, right? I think that could be a really, really interesting play, but it would never happen, right? But how do you think it would change, Amrita?
I think just them being in that film would change it, because the register at which they perform and like each of them pulls so much focus, and it's not even something that they do on purpose anymore. I think they just come on screen and it just basically short circuits your brain because they're so good at what they do and they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And Kapoor and Sons, I think the reason why like it worked with that particular cast is because none of them actually do it.
Yeah.
Like none of them, you don't react to any of those people that way. So I think with the three of them, it would be like, it would be a giant film and it would be very different. And then the other movie that I was thinking of is Kalank.
You know, I was gonna say something like it's not come out, but I think Takht with the Khans, like that. So I think we're thinking along the same line, or even like Bahubali. You know, that kind of like we need like an era that's grander than contemporary cinema to house all these three Khans together.
Like I would like to see Amar Akbar Anthony. Like I'm thinking of three hero movies, and Amar Akbar Anthony or Tridev or stuff like that with the three Khans. That would be like really appropriate to see all three Khans get their equal footage and everything, you know, masala amped up to the 11. I would love to see that, but I would give this more thought than just thinking about three hero projects. But Amar Akbar Anthony does sound really cool though. But again,
it needs to have right?
It needs to have a better direct, like, I don't see anybody in the current generation able to handle that much amount of pressure with the three Khans and remaking Amar Akbar Anthony.
I wonder, like, if Amir ever takes to, like, direct... Like, he makes these very tiny little movies, right? And then he, like, casts himself in them as Jesus. But I was thinking, like, if he ever made a masala movie, then I hope he makes something like Amar Akbar Anthony, because I would really love to see Amir do a take on masala.
Yeah.
And I think, like, he actually does have the sensibility to pull it off.
Yeah.
And I think he has the chops to pull it off.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's what I was also saying. What would you like to see Amir do? I would like to see him do Masi kind of things. So, good. Shall we move on? I think I had prepared my top 5 for every actor, but maybe I can tweet it out and people could publicly make fun of me. I think that would be good.
I mean, we all have that, like, on the back of our head, right?
Yeah. And it's usually something super embarrassing, but like Asim is never embarrassing.
Or super obvious.
So.
Yeah, I have no shame whatsoever, okay? So next one was from Shreyas from Bangalore. By the way, I gave the certain emails specifically to Amrita and Sujoy because I want to screw up names, and now I just screwed up Bangalore. So imagine. Bangalore. He's a recent listener. He just recently discovered Khandaan podcast. Shreya, tu kya kar raha tha? What were you doing, man? I've been tweeting like an idiot about Khandaan for years. Discovered earlier, yaar. What are you doing? He travels a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He loves our modern take and sometimes feminist perspective. He travels a lot. Uima. I love that he sent us all of these shots from Andaz Apna Apna in his email. That I thought was really, really cool. Like, he knows us, right? India is in lockdown. I've been working from home. I listen to the Khandaan every night while doing the dishes and in the morning while cleaning the house. Shreyas, man, can't you do something a bit more classy, right? Can't you like sip a glass of wine, or have like a cigar, or like smoke a J even, like like bring up our level a little bit. Yaar, tu chaprasi ke kaam kar raha hamara podcast sun ke.
I mean, to be fair, like hum bhi chaprasi ke kaam hi kar rahe hain while we are recording the podcast. So good on you, Shreyas.
I think it would be so cool to know a little bit about you guys if you're comfortable sharing on the podcast. How did you guys meet? What were some of your big events growing up which shaped your cinematic sensibilities? Thank you, Shreyas, for the awesome mail. And I tease because I'm like Tuffy. Amrita.
I did not see that coming.
Amrita, let's go with you so you can set the bar with what you're comfortable sharing and not sharing.
I mean, there's nothing like super personal. I've known Sujoy. I've known of Sujoy. I don't think like Sujoy and I were friends until like a few years ago, but I've known of Sujoy's work. Like he has this Bollywood blog back in the day where he used to do like gifts and stuff, right, Sujoy?
Yeah, Bollipop. It's still there, but it's like it's not been updated since many years now.
Yeah. So, I mean, his was like it was fairly popular. Like, I think everyone knew Bollipop. So, I knew of the website and I used to go there all the time. And then, a few years back, on Twitter, like, I'd see Sujoy and I'd see Asim, and they were friends with Beth more than they were friends with me. And then like, so every time I talk to Beth or something, like I'd see these two guys and I'd be like, and then we'd have like random talks and everything. And then I think Asim came to Bangkok while I was living there. And like, we talked a little bit about like things that they could do. And then I moved to London and then we just started hanging out and, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was that fateful meeting at Nando's that solidified the love. I think that was kind of like the first step.
It was Asim, Sujoy, and then this other Bollywood fan from America who, like, I wasn't going to mention her name because I think she felt a little left out because the three of us were just like, yakety, 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 yak. And she was trying to keep up. But it was, yeah.
I don't like. I was trying to think about when we started talking to each other, and I just like I can't like pinpoint a certain time. I think
I can.
You can? Okay.
I can, yeah. Because Asim, you were busy doing you podcasting, then the main channel, and I think we started talking on Twitter, and you asked me if I wanted to join on your podcast to do an episode on Rowdy Rathod. That was the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was with
So that's like the timestamp on it, you know. Rowdy Rathod we were doing with Filmy Girl, I think, was on the episode as well, and yeah.
I'm very like careful with my friendships. Like I do take like, you know, I'm very like dheere dheere pyar ko badhana hai, that kind of thing, you know. Like and then फिर हाथ से गुजर जाना है.
Now that song is like stuck in my head.
Yeah. So now like then is had se guzar jana hai. Like it's like friendship was not enough. Now I'm like, you know, keeping you hostage in a podcast you need to do with me every week. So,
where's the content? Where's the content, everybody?
So that's how friendship with me is. It's that song basically.
How appropriate.
For me, I mean, I think I've told this story before. I started podcasting way like 10 years ago, something like that, because I was traveling a lot around. I lived in Paris, I lived in Amsterdam, and I left all my friends behind in Belgium, and I just wanted to kind of have chats with them about movies. And we were having these Skype chats, and then podcasting was like just starting, and I basically wholesale lifted the idea from the Slash Film podcast and added that into You Podcast. And my co-hosts then, Martin and Ahmed, one is British, the other is Egyptian Belgian, neither were really into Bollywood, but I could feel that, you know, Bollywood was the passion I wanted to talk about. So I would like try to force them to watch some Bollywood. So they did QnA and a few other ones. But then our friend Ashanti Omkar, she was heading the PR for Delhi Belly at the London Indian Film Festival. And she kind of contacted me and said, do you want to interview Imran Khan? And that really started all of this access with Bollywood actors and things like that. And then I think with the You Podcast, I just kind of lost like a focus and a vision, and I was losing passion. And I think I wanted to do something new. And with Khandaan, I think we had all met, and I really liked you guys so much. And yeah, I genuinely did. It was like a true love affair. And I thought I want to spend more time with you guys now and dump my other friends. And that's also part of friendship with me. I will dump your ass.
How dare you not like Khandaan movies?
Yeah, and I think for me it was how Khandaan came to be. It was this a podcast that came a couple of years ago was called Denzel is the greatest actor in the history of cinema, and they basically just review Denzel Washington movies. And then there was also how did this get made podcast, but then there's also pretentious review. And my idea was just kind of putting all of those things in a pot, and then me and Sujoy talked about it, and I think we missed a magic ingredient, and I think very quickly both of us thought Amrita is that magic ingredient, and we were so happy that Amrita came along, because I don't think this podcast would be what it is without you, Amrita. I think the most praise I get from people is we love Amrita, we love her voice, we like her, the sound of her voice, and also the voice, the opinion she has. And I think I've grown knowing you. I feel a slightly better person because of you. And I think both of you guys, I don't want to, Sujoy is my brother. This is crazy. I really see Sujoy as a brother, and I don't think all of this would have happened without Khandaan. So yeah,
Baskar pagle, Baskar.
I was just thinking that, but I was like, nahi, Asim ka itna acha chal raha hai, I don't want to say anything.
See, this is why I need you guys. Oh God, shall we move on?
The HUD is a dot to you now. The HUD is a dot to you.
It is. Anyway. So I thought I think that was enough for Shreyas. I think तुम्हारी झाड़ू पोछा हो गया होगा. Shall we move on to the next email? These are general praise emails. So
yeah,
I am very comfortable with reading those, but I know you guys are less. So let's start. Amrita, if you can take the next one, and you can probably edit it a bit more than I would, because I would just read the whole thing.
So the next one is from okay, I don't know exactly how to pronounce her name, but actually I don't know if it's actually I don't know how to pronounce their name at all. Sirjana maybe. And they're a listener from Canada, and they really love the podcast, and their first love is Salman Khan, and they really love Shah Rukh Khan as well. And quote, Amir, I really do love his movies. Same, Sirjana, same. That is exactly how things are around here. And they're listening to the podcast in quarantine, and they want to give a shout out to Sujoy and myself. And they think that the three of us have amazing chemistry together, which I agree. It's because we like each other. And she says, just returning a big hug back and lots of positivity your way. Keep bringing the fun, because God knows we need it right now. Same to you, Sirjana, because we all need whatever we can get to just get out of this time.
यूं ही कट जाएगा सफर साथ चलने से. Okay.
Yeah. The next one is from Shramana from Atlanta. Hello, Khandaan. I discovered you around the time you started as I moved to the US from India, missing home and all things familiar, rediscovering the comfort of the thing I grew up watching, Bollywood. I found there are people who discuss Indian films with passion and critique on blogs and podcasts. Your podcast was one of the first I discovered and have been listening since then. I would gladly leave a review, but I'm not in the Apple ecosystem. You don't need to be on Apple ecosystem. Just go to the iTunes website and just drop in a review there. Though it's hilarious for listeners when you all rant on bad movies, I suspect you guys have to suffer through watching those. You don't know, Shramana. You don't know what we go through. So I would love for you to do episodes discussing each of yours favorite Khan movies for each Khan. So that's 9 episodes taken care of. Also, you may consider bringing in guests like Melanie from Pardesi Reviews, Margaret from Don't Call It Bollywood. I know they love at least one of the Khans. Margaret's blog is where I discovered you guys. through one of the commenters. Pitu should always be the guest on episodes discussing the shittiest movies. She's hilarious. I agree. She loves my Sunil Shetty impression, apparently.
Can I just say, like, I absolutely agree with her. Like, that impression, like, I've been listening to that impression on repeat ever since you said it. Like, it is one of my
Let me tell you,
favorite
I was
things.
totally taken by surprise when you did the Sunil Shetty impression. that ma, I cannot unhear it now. So as Asim was wondering if people were listening to them in times of Corona, I'd like to say I listen to the podcast while cooking, cleaning, jogging, so that's not changed. Keep podcasting till you finish the entire Khan filmography.
I love that Asim's idea of our listener fan base is like people sitting at home with like a glass of wine and like eating cheese, and
then people are like in the sandas and listening to the podcast.
Oh my god, I'm thinking we're NPR, but we're actually Jersey Shore or that kind of thing.
And like people are like, "What are you doing in the bathroom? Come out! Nahi, episode khatam nahi hua."
Oh god.
Although our episodes are like 2 hours long, like I don't know what you're doing in them 2 hours.
सिटी बजा रहे हैं, सिटी गाना गा रहे हैं. And by the way, I know like people have taken my whining for that we don't have content and we're going to stop podcasting. We're not going to stop. We have tons of ideas and content, so we'll keep doing things. And actually, I would love to have Melanie and Margaret on the podcast too. But we also have a ton of guests that we still have planned. So they're definitely on the list, and I'll definitely reach out. We interact on Twitter sometimes, and like we love everybody. We would love to have guests on. I mean, if you have a burning desire to come on Khandaan, drop us a message too. And people have done it, and I think it's I always love speaking to new people. So yeah. Anything else we wanted to do here? Where we can move on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apurva, long time listener, Apurva, man. Hey, how's it going, Apurva? Would love to see you guys discuss Jab Harry Met Sally. Why, man? Why? Like no, like.
You know what though? Like I think like maybe in like I don't know, the way that time has slowed down, like it has no meaning, but eventually down the road, I would like to talk about it, I think.
No,
did we talk about it already?
No, I was
right?
being snarky, but I do want to talk about Jab Harry Met Sally. I didn't enjoy it as a whole the first time, but on repeat viewing, it has a way to charm you. I can see that, Apurva, that SRK's performance were completely on the radar. Yeah, he was great, and he looked so good. Like, Shah Rukh looked so good in that movie. Someone has already said it, but Duplicate also deserves to be discussed. I have not seen Duplicate yet. Like, I've never seen it.
We should do Duplicate.
Should we do Duplicate?
Sujoy, have you seen?
No,
Sujoy, have
I
you seen
haven't.
Duplicate?
Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
Let's do Duplicate.
Apurva.
Duplicate came into that time zone when I was studying for my board exams, and I could hear the songs always on TV, but I wasn't even allowed in the TV room. That's what happened.
बहुत गलत होता है तेरे साथ.
A story of my life.
By the way, I want to say when we had all of these emails, I put them together. I sent them to Amrita and Sujoy said, like, exam ki tarah maine koi preparation nahi ki. So now I understand your dad, man.
But okay, Apurva, just for you, we're gonna watch Duplicate.
And Badshah, apparently.
Yeah, which also apparently has this huge fan following, Badshah, which I don't know. A lot of people has asked us about Badshah, Apurva, so it's coming. Lastly, some of the movies with Amitabh and Shah Rukh together, like Mohabbatein and K3G, have interesting moments that can be discussed in relation to their individual stardoms. It's an underrated clash on camera. I agree with you. Have we not done K3G yet? Have we not?
We've done K3G, but we haven't done Mohabbatein. And I think Mohabbatein is more of a classic clash.
I think that will take us 9 episodes to discuss Mohabbatein.
And coming back to that top 5, Mohabbatein was almost on there. Talking about people that are embarrassed, and I have no lack of shame, I was almost going to put Mohabbatein as one of my favorite Shah Rukh movies. So that's where I'm at. I like that movie. Apurva, thanks a lot, man. Your suggestions got approved by the team. Committee ne pass kar diya. So we will be doing Duplicate and Badsha very soon. Yeah. And then we got these questions on social media, as people sometimes call it. And I think these are kind of quick fire things, like
as people sometimes call it what?
I don't know. I'm delirious.
Asim went from being bhai to Uncle Ji.
The Twittering and the Facebooking.
I love it when Asim suddenly goes like full BBC for like no good reason. It's just like, ye kya ho raha hai?
See, where were you on the Wrist Test podcast, yeah? Okay, so we'll do some quick fires here. So Khilari 2002. These are just like,
you know what's coming.
Sometimes like people like Khilari, I love you, man. We interact a lot, but sometimes these questions are like ravings of a madman type of things. Okay, so Khilari 2002. What if Saif had done DDLJ? What if Amir?
Hey, Simran! Wow!
Wow! Oh God, that's a good one. What if Amir had done Dar? I think this is all questions for Sujoy.
No, but Amir has done a version of Dar. Like, what is it called, yaar? The Madhuri movie. Except he gets a girl in the end.
Okay.
From the 80s. Do you remember where he's like stalking Madhuri? Is that what it's called?
I think so.
I thought it was like Acha. Maybe. I think that's it. I think that's what it's
when
called.
He's a photographer and he's just...
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And he's a total creep, and it definitely would not have gotten the same reception that Shah Rukh got in Dar. Like in Dar, everybody was like, yes, Shah Rukh, kill Sunny and like take Juhi. But nobody would have felt that way about Amir. Yeah.
What if Salman had done Bazigar? I don't know even Salman, is this was never in part of the discussion, right? Like, I think if Salman had done Bazigar and Amir had done Dar, there would not be Shah Rukh, right? Like, that would be the biggest tragedy. Like, those movies were so defining of that, rebel, and I don't think either would have taken even that movie, right? You needed a sort of guts to take on those roles and then make it your own that only Shah Rukh had at that time, because he had nothing to lose, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see Salman really kind of doing it. Could be interesting, I guess. At that time also, he was very energetic Chulbula kind of Salman. I just don't see him doing that kind of role. He was very much still wanting to be a hero, where Shah Rukh really wanted to do something different coming out of that theatre background. What if Shah Rukh... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's actually related to that last question. What if Shah Rukh had done Lagan and Munna Bhai? And honestly, the reason why Lagan and Munna Bhai, well, not Munna Bhai, but the reason why Lagan would never have worked with Shah Rukh is the same reason why I feel Bazigar would not have worked with
Salman
or Amir with Dar. Because the thing with Amir and Salman is that even today, they need to be the winners. You see, Shah Rukh is... nobody loses on screen more or better than Shah Rukh.
Yeah.
He is extremely comfortable with that. Even today, not just his early films, but if you look at Fan, that part where he's playing the superstar and he gets humiliated by the guy that's cutting him the check, or Chennai Express, I don't think enough people talk about how Shah Rukh basically just plays this very ordinary sort of dude who just talks a big game and gets beaten up by just random passers-by.
Yeah.
Like, he's very comfortable that way in portraying weakness in a way that Aamir and Salman cannot. Like, Salman especially needs to be the hero. This is what I was saying, like, earlier on in the episode, where I said, like, you know, he has, like, that hero-giri going on.
Yeah.
Like, and that is what his audience also expects.
Yeah.
So I don't think... And with Munna Bhai, I think... I don't know, I can't imagine that movie without Sanjay Dutt, to be honest. Like, that physicality of Sanjay is so...
Nobody is as tall.
Yeah, I think it adds something. Although, like, I think when people talk about Aamir doing it, I think there's the, you know, he has that connection with Raju Hirani and, like, that Rangila kind of character, right? But I do think the physicality of Sanjay adds so much to Munna Bhai that nobody else could do it. Maybe Jackie Shroff or something, like, maybe he can bring that. I don't know. Or Anil Kapoor even. Not physically, but he can play that Tezab kind of Tapori character. Yeah. But it would be such a different movie. It would not have that. It does have, like, Munna Bhai does have, like, a little element of class, and Anil would take it down. Like, he would, like, really take it down to, like, street level. You know what I mean? Our next one, our good friend Tanvi, Movie Wala Podcast. Check out that podcast. I think Sujoy is going to be on there, and I already have been on there. It was really, really fun. What if you could watch only one movie with a Khan, of course, for the rest of your life? Which movie would each of you pick and why? She's sending us that from DC. Sujoy, man, which one movie would it be?
Om Shanti Om.
Oh, nice one.
Oh,
that's a good
because
one.
It's got the entire film industry in it. and I'm greedy. It's got Amitabh Bachchan. It's got Salman, Shah Rukh, Sanjay Dutt, Saif Ali Khan. It's got Priyanka Chopra. Everybody you name it is in that movie. So yeah, why not? And it's got great music. Yeah. And Deepika looks really smashing in that movie.
Amrita, which one would you go for?
I was actually thinking, and I can't even think of one. I think probably Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, just because every time I pass a TV or I turn on the internet, it seems to be referenced somewhere. So if I'm going to watch it anyway, then I might as well just watch it, you know.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah. I mean, my pick is just not interesting or surprising, is Andaz Apna Apna. But
I thought about that.
Yeah. But the problem is then I don't have Shah Rukh in my life, which is a tragedy. You know, it's an ultimate tragedy. So I don't know. It has to be Andaz Apna Apna, I guess. But yeah, that's my pick. Sorry, it's not very interesting. But I think pretty much my life is rewatching Andaz Apna Apna all the time anyway. So it would not be that different. So yeah. Our good friend Anisha sent us from New Jersey. Which film character played by a Khan would you most and least likely to be quarantined with? That's a good question. Yeah, I should have thought of this one more. Yeah, Amrita?
I have a very unexpected answer to this.
Tell me.
Okay, I'll say the least one. Because I think that is probably... So the one I would least like to be quarantined with is Salman. And that is because Salman gives me like very like roti seko type vibes. Like, you know, like he would expect meals on the table and like expect somebody else to do the saf safai. I don't think he like washes dishes. So, and I think he'd be useless in the kitchen. So I think Salman. Round the clock. Like, I don't want
any character he played.
Any character. I don't want him. Especially, I don't want Radhe.
Oh.
That is the least. Yeah, I don't want Radhe I don't want Salman in real life, and I don't want Radhe from Tere Naam. But the person that I would like to be quarantined, the character that I would like to be quarantined with, Rancho from 3 Idiots. I think Rancho would make the perfect sense just because he's very good at all like fixing things. So if the washing machine breaks down, or if there's like, the vacuum cleaner doesn't work, then Rancho will fix it. But also Rancho is used to being told, like from his childhood, he's used to being told by people to like run along and play, or like go away and like leave me alone. So I think like when I need alone time, I think Rancho would understand more than anyone else, and he would be like, okay, fine. He'd like understand my personal space, and he would be good in like fixing things. So yes, Rancho.
Sujay, did you have any picks?
No, I like both my choices are Shah Rukh characters. The least one is Gaurav from Fan, because he's a psychopath. Obviously, I don't want to be in the same room as him, and he would make my life hell. The second one is probably like a cheat, but the cameo of the real Shah Rukh in Luck by Chance, where he's giving wise knowledge about stardom and how it's all an addiction. I would like to get some wisdom from the real Shah Rukh. I would like to get in quarantine in Mannat and get access to all the nice resources that he has.
That's a good one. My pick to be stuck in quarantine is Raj Aryan Malhotra from Mohabbatein. I'm stuck in quarantine, right? So
I don't want to hear the violin.
No, I can learn violin from him. Like I can read, like he's a music teacher, right? So I'll learn violin. I'll learn how to, plus he teaches his students to break the gates. So when quarantine is over, I can break the gate and start running outside. Plus, like he's still in love with Bhutni Aishwarya anyway, so he'll be like doing his own thing certainly, so it's kind of fine. So I think Raj Malhotra would probably be my pick here. Least, I don't know like who the least character, probably also like a Salman character. Yeah, probably Radhe or something like that, like I don't think, but then again, like also Shah Rukh's, Dar would be kind of annoying because he's kind of a psychopath, but then also like Amir's Dil character, I really, really hated, like, that like douchey kind of like blind, blind harasser that he was playing there. So yeah, a few there. Next one from our, by the way, Tanvi, Anisha, and next guest Shivani 510. They've all been previous guests on Khandaan, so that's also kind of cool. So Shivani sent us an email message from Mumbai and NYC. I don't know how she's in two places at the same time, but it can happen. Favorite playback singer for each Khan. Bonus points for naming a song you love with each Jodi. So Joy, man, you are the music head out of us. So,
I mean, it's kind of obvious my choices again. It's probably because I'm we have all love 90s movies and 90s songs. S.P. Balasubramaniam for Salman Khan. Nobody matches the playback singing of that Jodi. Udit Narayan for both Amir and Shah Rukh for me. Udit Narayan in Devdas with Shah Rukh was spot on for me, and Udit Narayan with Amir in Raja Hindustani or Hum Hera Pyar Ke. Was it? No, that was Kumar Sanu. Dil or Qyamat Se Qyamat Tak. So yeah, those are my choices.
Amrita?
So for Salman, it's super old school. I like SPD.
Yeah. That's my pick too, by the way.
Yeah. Mine too. Yeah.
And it has to be, I don't know why, but the moment I read this question, the only song that came to mind was Tere Rang Mein. Mere Rang Mein, sorry. Mere Rang Mein Ragne Wali.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why, but it was such a strong recall when I was like Salman and SPD. And then for Shah Rukh, it has to be Abhijit. I'm sorry, he's a horrible human being and I hate him as much as everyone else. But 90s Shah Rukh had some really great songs, and unfortunately, a lot of them were sung by Abhijit. So I'm thinking of the Yes Boss songs, those were some of my favorite songs. Then for Amir, Udit Narayan has to be Udit Narayan, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think like which song, but I can't think of anything in particular. Jagjit Singh, like it's obviously not a good fit for Amir, but like my favorite Amir song is actually the one that Jagjit Singh sang in Sarfarosh. So I don't think if that counts. Does that count?
I think it does, but that was one of the things I was gonna say too. Amir movies are not always about playback in a way, right? So I think that's kind of, especially his last few movies, like what is Nanga Punga Dost at the end,
Yeah.
SP Bala, no guesses there. For Salman, and I wanted to kind of like shout out the names that we don't automatically think of, and like for Salman, even like Rahat Ali Khan, weirdly enough, he's the only one that could suit that voice, like in all of Hindi cinema. Weirdly, it's such a weird combination, but it's worked a few times, right? And so that one I kind of like thought of. Then I was thinking of a name we haven't mentioned, who's pretty much good across the board, especially for Shah Rukh and Salman, which is Sonu Nigam. That is a really good voice. I was thinking of like the Pardes soundtrack, for example, Ye Dil Deewana and that kind of thing, and he's such a good voice with both of them. And I think he even made a sentence like he said something like, I've sung more better songs for Salman than I have for Shah Rukh, but people think that I'm Shah Rukh's voice. But that's like a very Sonu Nigam kind of statement to make. Then also Udit Narayan, but on Shah Rukh in Ajnabi. Like that was like, he doesn't lip sync that song in the movie, but that whole soundtrack, like even Satrangi Re, like Dil Se is kind of like one of the ultimate soundtracks. So those are the kind of ones that I was thinking of. And then Amir, I did get stuck a little bit because he doesn't have those kind of playbacky songs, and also his last few movies really didn't have good music even, right? But if
that's the one weird thing about Amir, like he doesn't have that musical sense.
Yeah.
Whereas like Salman has it like in spades. I think of the three Khans, like Salman really gets his music.
Yeah. Salman really does, right? But like he works with good people, like like he has worked with Amir, he has worked with A.R. Rahman twice, and they made Gajni, which is a really, really good soundtrack though, right? And he also did Lagan, but I was going to go with Rangila. And those are ace soundtracks, but then when I think of Rangila, I immediately think again of Udit Narayan.
But also Rang De Basanti.
Yeah. So Sukhvinder, right? That's like a kind of a thing, no? In all of those soundtracks, or like in Lagan and in Rang De Basanti.
Yeah, but also in
Dil Se as well.
Dil Chahta Hai.
Yeah.
Dil Chahta Hai, it seems. Yeah, I meant to say Dil Se.
Yeah, so it's been a while, good music for Amir, but he has delivered sometimes. So those are the ones I'm going to go with. Who is the preferred Khan to be quarantined with from Sinead at F Cox 2? Thanks, Sinead. I think did we not answer this? We kind of did with the previous question, right? But if you just want to talk about the Khan, I think Amrita, you already mentioned it. I think all of us would want to hang out with Shah Rukh, right? That's the one.
Yeah.
Sorry, we didn't have anything deeper to say on that level, but I think also he Shah Rukh probably has good personal hygiene.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I don't want to be stuck in a horse stable, feeding horses.
And also, like, we know that he likes to, sequester himself inside his bathroom for long periods of time. Yeah. So, this, again, for a podcast where, people sitting in a sandas is, basically a jam. So, yeah, Shah Rukh all the way.
Yeah.
And he's a good conversationalist when he comes out. He's not too precious about it. He'd go away. He cooks. He cleans.
Yeah.
Shah Rukh all the way, man.
Yeah. And Amir would use up all my towels and laundry ka bill bal jayega, It would be tough. It would be tough. Salman would just abuse my cooking, and he'd like make me cook stuff all the time, and I would do it because I'm so in love with him, so it wouldn't work. All of that would not work. But I would like a workout partner in Salman, so that would be pretty cool, like you back.
But also, is Salman buying your groceries? Because I figure like his grocery bill is like huge. Like he must be drinking like Gai ka doodh by the liter.
Yeah. But he'll be like, Asim, back mar, and I would be, yes, Salman, back mar. That kind of thing. Next one, Yami in Bombay. She said Bombay, or did I write Bombay? Is that allowed? Yeah. Okay.
Yami, I don't know where you are, but now you live in Bombay. Congratulations.
Pappu Charu at her handle. What if Salman had sprung up on the offer to play Kabir Khan in Chak De instead of SRK? Funnily, I just watched a video about that, so I don't know if like this is like YouTube algorithm screwing me up or something like that. And I didn't know that. Apparently, Salman was offered that role and he didn't want to do it because it was Chak De India. He wanted the title to be Chak De. That's it. And he didn't want it to be India because he felt he would alienate other countries and fans from other countries. And in a way, it sounds like a weird story, but on the other hand, it also sounds like a very Salman story when he doesn't want to do the movie. So, I don't know, guys. What do you think? What do you guys think of that question? If he had done...
Wouldn't have worked.
No?
I mean...
Wouldn't have worked. And I'll tell you again why. Because the character is too Muslim for Salman. I think that's what it is. Because it's not just that he's Muslim. Like Salman's played Muslim characters before, obviously in Sultan and stuff. But this is a Muslim who needs to prove his patriotism. And it is a Muslim who loses.
Yeah.
At his, the epitome of his career, like the ultimate moment. Like this is a Muslim who like goes out, fights for his country, and then loses. And I don't think Salman would want to play that character. I don't think Salman would know how to play that character.
It will be a very different, very, very different movie. It won't be about the redemption of the coach. The story would start with him being a drunk or whatever. It's not going to be about how he was abused in the youth or how his entire career came to a low point.
Yeah. Also, that era of Salman couldn't have done it, whereas now you have something like Sultan, I guess, but still, Sultan does have those larger-than-life elements that, Chak De didn't have. Also, I do not see Salman doing that. What is that speech? Like how many minutes? Whatever
70 minutes.
Yeah, that one.
Minutes.
Yeah,
that's 70 minutes.
Oh, yeah, 70 minutes, sorry.
Yeah.
I'd watch that game if it was like 70 minutes.
Okay. I've actually only watched Chak De once. I've never rewatched it since. So I think and a lot of people ask me when are we doing Chak De, and the other one is Swades. A lot of people ask about too, which also I've only watched once. So yeah, it would be good to maybe revisit.
Do we not do enough Shah Rukh movies? Like it seems like either like our entire audience just wants to watch like Shah Rukh movies, or else we don't watch enough Shah Rukh movies. I don't know. And
so I think that kind of covers that question, right? This was fun. I thought this was fun. I think we should rely more on our listeners to send us content to talk about. This was quite fun. We should do this again. Like if we ever we should do this again without this context of a quarantine. We should do more of these mailbag episodes.
I mean, I hope the next time we do such an episode, the world is in a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think this was good, guys. Anything else you want to add? I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ and on Instagram at Amrita by the book.
Sujoy?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at 9E3K.
And I'm at Asim Bernie. You can follow us at UPodcasting. You can leave a review on Apple Podcast. We were going to read some reviews from the podcast, but they were so praiseworthy and so nice of everybody. We didn't add them here. I definitely feel it in like the warmth in my heart when we get a good podcast review there.
We do too, Asim. हमारे भी सीने में दिल है.
है अच्छा वाकई में okay. The guys that cut me off when I was being nice to you assholes.
No, how did I cut you off? I said bas kar pagle bas.
Or you can drop us an email like all of these lovely people did at youpodcasting@gmail.com. We'll be back with a new episode very, very soon, probably next week. And thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for sticking with us.
क्या बोलती